Rock duck.
Beep, 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 beep. Hot news right off the Savatage press of my imagination. And let's make that clear that this is my speculation of what might become with the supposed, in my imagination, not that I have any inside information, wouldn't want to give anything away. All in my imagination, the upcoming Savatage TSO tour. Anybody interested in my imagination? Coming up. Okay, so recently, Criss Caffrey of Trans-Siberian Orchestra fame, Savatage fame, Spirits of Fire fame, Dr. Butcher fame, Heaven fame, and a couple of other projects, so like many Criss that I can't keep up with him.
Solo stuff.
Including his sea glass work, which is exceptional. You should check it out.
Yeah.
Was recently featured speaking with Dean Zelinsky on the Dean Zelinsky Show, episode number 9. And if you are not familiar with who Dean Zelinsky is, he is the Imagineer, creator of Dean's Guitars, which Criss Caffrey prominently plays with TSO. Those two cats were having a chat, and Criss Caffrey happened to mention about the obvious project, the unfinished one, Romanovs, that Paul Oneill was never able to execute with Jon Oliva. It's still in the back burners. And the way Criss Oliva was hinting, you guys really need to go check out that episode with Dean Zelinsky Show number 9, where he interviews Criss Caffrey, because I think Criss Caffrey says a lot without saying anything at all. But what he was hinting at was that to carry on the memory of the great Paul Oneill, which was the bonding agent that put everything together going back to the Savatage days through to the TSO days. He was a creative tour de force along with Jon Oliva. But Paul Oneill was the storyteller. And it was that storytelling that became very influential on Jon Oliva's writing, as well as Criss Oliva, as well as Criss Caffrey, as well as Al Pitrelli, as well as all the other creatives behind the tour de force. Jeff Plate, Killdrums, maybe not so much influenced by Paul Oneill, but it was there. And let's not forget Johhny Lee Middleton, who didn't have so much on the writing side, but definitely was there throughout the whole thing, right? He came in to fill in after Keith Collins and never left, and progressed all the way through Savatage, and is a prominent member with TSO. And that brings us to the upcoming Imaginary Tour. So, based on what Criss Caffrey was talking about with Dean Zelinsky, that to honor the great Paul Oneill and the continuation of finishing up possibly Romanovs, and hinting at maybe some other non-Christmas TSO albums in the works, hint, hint. And I want to combine that with what Jon Oliva said, which you can read on the Wikipedia page to verify it, but he was distraught about if he couldn't do Savatage at the level of TSO, he wasn't going to do it at all. Now let's take those two ideals and combine them into one grandiose one. And that is, let's face the facts. If you're thinking of going on tour with your band old band Savatage as the lead vocalist again, which is what everyone wants, right, with Savatage. That's what we're all saying. We want Jon Oliva to sing. Whereas TSO is obviously Savatage without Jon Oliva singing. And that is where a lot of fans can't make that leap. But TSO has garnered so much respect on its own. And as Jon Oliva says, he's got 6, although it might be more now, platinum albums on his wall, and not a one of them says Savatage. That's why he said if he can't tour with Savatage as big as he's used to doing it with TSO, why even bother? Now, we all know Jon Oliva purchased Morrisound Studios, right, where a lot of the Savatage albums were recorded at, where I think almost all of the TSO albums were recorded. I don't know that for sure, but I can almost, I wouldn't say guarantee, but I'm pretty sure that every TSO album was recorded at Morrisound Studios. Jon Oliva bought the studio. So obviously he's got all the music in the works. Now, TSO is phenomenal with the Christmas thing, and that's wrapped up in the bag. That'll continue on longer than most of us will be alive. And that is a great testimony to the musicianship of the great Paul and John. And I don't mean Paul and John of the Beatles, but that's the funny part, right? Because I mentioned this in the documentary Criss Oliva, or Savatage, a Criss Oliva story. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. About what a weird Twilight Zone thing this is to have John and Paul, the writing duo, the greatest writing duo ever, that people might say. And I'm not mentioning the Beatles, I'm talking about Savatage. And then you also have John and Paul from the Beatles, right? Now, the funny part is they all wrote on the same piano. The piano where Imagine was written. Imagine all the people. Yeah, that piano. And that's where Gutter Ballet was written on, and Where the Crowds Are Gone, and a lot of other stuff. So it's just interesting in retrospect. So getting back to the tour, what they were all mentioning was if they couldn't do it at the level of TSO, why bother? Now, obviously, Savatage does not do Christmas because TSO is basically Savatage Christmas. So how would you best combine the two so you could go on this grand tour at the level of TSO and bring in Savatage as the opening band? Easy. TSO must release non-Christmas music. And therein lies the beauty of the details. Not only are we going to get new Savatage music, which everyone has been elated and waiting. They all think that the cover or the album might be called Curtain Call, but that is still not official. I've heard other potential titles that I will not throw around here, but I'm also implying that we as fans are going to be fortunate enough to not just get a new Savatage album, possibly a double album, maybe even a triple album based on what Jon Oliva is saying of the material he has. But my speculation, my imagination, right, says that we're also going to get a TSO album, not Christmas related. And if you guys aren't familiar with The Last Night of Beethoven, I suggest you go check it out. One of my favorite albums from TSO. So that's pretty much all I've got. Is I believe that in order to do the tour the way they want to do the tour, the way Jon Oliva and Paul Oneill and everyone envisions it, they're going to use the same 24 semi-trucks that they have, right? I mean, have you ever seen all the trucks that they use for TSO? Holy effing crap, man. That's a lot of trucks, right? 18-wheelers, 24 of them, all doing the tour. Now, why would you do two separate tours and garner all that extra expense? You wouldn't. You would somehow, in other words, if you have a bunch of toys, you could use your toys to benefit something else. You wouldn't go out and buy a whole new set of toys to do a much lower production. You already have the best toys anywhere. I mean, let's face it, the TSO light show, pyrotechnics, it is far beyond anyone else's. TSO has just now been rated the 10th highest production or highest earning touring band of all time out of any touring bands out of all genres.
That's
all
amazing.
genres.
Amazing.
All genres.
Amazing.
Okay? And they only tour, right, between November and December.
Even more
It's amazing what they put together. And this is why, if they're going to come back, and they are, I believe they are. It's just there's some delays with some legal issues and some other issues
Speculation.
that postponed the 2024 release of the Savatage album. But it all has to coordinate with a tour. And everyone keeps waiting for the Curtain Call album. And I'm telling you guys, you need to start anticipating a brand new TSO album, not Christmas related. Now again, the tour, the albums, all of this is in my imagination. I hope you like this video, and I hope it all comes true. And thank you for joining me on this journey. So now we can all imagine together a brand new Savatage album, double album, and a brand new TSO non-Christmas related album. Holy effing wow. Alright guys, stay tuned and keep an eye out for the release of the upcoming Storm. Heading your way.